Kara Stewart sat at her desk watching the rain tap against her window when the sky suddenly turned purple. The weatherman had predicted storms, but not this. A bright light cut through the clouds, and Kara stood up, knocking her coffee over. She barely noticed the brown liquid spreading across her papers. Something was coming down from the sky. It wasn't a plane or helicopter, but a sleek metallic object that seemed to float rather than fall. The object landed in the empty field behind her small house, sending a gentle ripple through the ground. Not the crash she expected. Kara grabbed her jacket and ran outside. The rain had stopped as suddenly as the strange light had appeared. She approached the field cautiously, her heart racing. The object was about 20 feet long, shaped like a teardrop with no visible doors or windows. Its surface shimmered with colors that didn't exist on Earth. As she got closer, a section of the hull simply disappeared, revealing an opening. Kara stopped frozen in place. A figure emerged, tall and graceful, with skin the color of opals. Its eyes were large and golden with no pupils. The alien was clearly female with a humanoid shape, but there was something both beautiful and terrifying about her. Do not be afraid. Human. The alien spoke directly into Kara's mind. Her voice was like music. The alien stepped forward, revealing herself fully in the moonlight. She wore what looked like liquid silver flowing around her body. My name is Narration. I have traveled far to find someone. Like you, Kara found her voice, though it came out as a whisper. What do you want? Narration tilted her head, studying Kara with those strange golden eyes. We have been watching your planet for centuries. You humans are unique in the galaxy. No other species has your combination of compassion and determination. Your capacity for both creation and destruction fascinates us. She stepped closer, and Kara noticed that Narration stood almost 7 feet tall, her movements fluid like water. You are at a turning point. Your species will either destroy itself or reach the stars. My people wish to guide you. Kara laughed nervously. Guide us? You mean take over? Narration made a sound like wind chimes. If we wanted to conquer Earth, we would have done so when your ancestors were still using stone tools. No, Kara Stewart, we need an ambassador. Someone to help humans understand that they are not alone in the universe. Someone strong enough to face the truth. How do you know my name? Kara asked, backing away slightly. Narration smiled, revealing teeth like pearls. We have studied your transmissions, your internet, your history. We know much about humans. But knowing facts is not the same as understanding. I need to understand your people, and you need to understand mine. Kara looked up at the stars now visible in the clearing sky. Why me? Am nobody. Am just a science teacher at the local high school. Narration reached out one slender hand with 6 fingers. That is precisely why I chose you. You teach the young. You shape minds. You understand how to translate complex ideas into simple terms. And you have something rare among your kind. An open mind. Before Kara could respond, the air around them pulsed with energy, and 3 more ships appeared in the sky, smaller than Naraya's, but just as elegant. My sisters, Narration explained. They are scouts searching for other potential ambassadors across your planet. We need more than one perspective to truly understand humanity. Kara watched as the ships dispersed, heading in different directions. Are they looking for other teachers? Not necessarily, Narration responded. They seek those with open minds and strong hearts. A farmer in China, a doctor in Kenya, a fisher in Norway. People connected to their communities. People who listen more than they speak. Why now? Kara asked. Why after all this time watching us? Narration looked troubled for the first time. The galaxy is changing. There are forces that would see humanity eliminated before you reach your potential. They fear what humans might become. They have witnessed your wars, your cruelty, and believe you cannot evolve beyond violence. But others, like my people, see your art, your music, your capacity for growth. We believe you deserve a chance. Kara thought about her students, their hopes, their dreams, their futures. I don't know if I'm the right person for this, but I want to help. Narration smiled again. This is why you were chosen, Kara Stewart. Your willingness to try, even when uncertain, is the most human trait of all. It is your species' greatest strength. She gestured toward her ship. Would you like to see inside? Kara hesitated only a moment before nodding. Yes, I would. As they walked toward the shimmering craft, Kara realized that everything was about to change. Not just for her, but for all of humanity. She was about to become part of something bigger than herself. Something that would connect Earth to the stars. The interior of the ship was nothing like Kara had imagined. There were no control panels or buttons, just flowing, organic surfaces that pulsed with light. Neria explained that the ship was partially alive, bonded to her at a molecular level. It responded to her thoughts. There are others out there, aren't there? Kara asked as she marveled at the technology surrounding her other aliens. Many, Neria confirmed, some peaceful, some not. The galaxy is teeming with life, but few species have developed as uniquely as humans. You are adaptable, resilient, creative. These qualities make you valuable allies, but also potential threats. That is why some fear your advancement. What happens now? Kara asked. Now we learn from each other. Neria said, you will remain on Earth, continuing your normal life. But we will communicate regularly. You will meet my sisters and their chosen ambassadors. You will help prepare humanity for the truth. As Kara stood in the alien ship looking at the stars through what appeared to be a living window, she felt a sense of purpose she had never known before. She was a teacher, but now, the lesson was greater than anything she could have imagined. She was going to help introduce humanity to the universe, and the universe to humanity. For the first time in her life, Kara Stewart, nobody from nowhere special, realized that being human was actually quite extraordinary. Neria placed a cool hand on Kara's shoulder. We must prepare you. There are things you need to know about the greater galaxy, things that will help you understand your place in it. The ship began to hum softly, and the walls around them transformed, showing images of stars, planets, and strange cities. Unlike Earth movies, these weren't projections, but actual windows into other worlds. Kara saw creatures of all shapes and sizes. Some looked almost human, while others defied description. These are the civilized worlds, Neria explained, the planets and systems that belong to what you might call an alliance. We trade, we share knowledge, we help each other grow. But there are others. The images shifted, showing barren worlds and massive ships that looked built for war. The Vraxian Imperium. Neria said, her musical voice now somber. They believe in conquest. They see other species as resources to be used. Their technology is advanced, but their society is cruel. They have set their sights on Earth. Kara felt a chill run down her spine. Why would they want Earth? Your planet is rich in resources, Neria explained. But more importantly, your species has potential. The Vraxians don't just want your world. They want your people. Humans adapt quickly, learn fast, and can survive in conditions that would kill other species. They would use you as soldiers, workers, even pets. That's horrible. Kara whispered. Yes, Neria agreed. That is why we have finally revealed ourselves. We have kept Earth hidden as best we could, but the Vraxians have detected your transmissions. They know you exist. They will come. The only question is when. What can we do? Kara asked. How can humanity possibly defend itself against something like that? Neria touched a wall and the images disappeared. We cannot give you weapons that would violate our most sacred laws, but we can give you knowledge, understanding, the tools to advance your civilization more quickly than you would on your own. And most importantly, we can offer you alliance. She turned to Kara, her golden eyes intense. This is why ambassadors are so important. You must help your people understand the truth without causing panic. You must help them prepare for a larger universe, both its wonders and its dangers. Kara took a deep breath, overwhelmed by the responsibility. This is a lot to take in. Neria nodded. I know, but you will not be alone. My sisters and their chosen humans will work with you, and I will guide you. The ship suddenly hummed louder, and Neria tilted her head as if listening. I must take you home now. Dawn approaches and your absence would be noticed. We will continue tomorrow. There is much more to show you. as they exited the ship. Kara looked back at the strange craft now glowing softly in the pre-dawn light. This is really happening, isn't it? Neria smiled, her opal skin catching the first rays of sunlight. Yes, Kara Stewart. This is really happening. The universe has noticed humanity, and humanity will soon notice the universe. The ship closed seamlessly behind Neria and began to rise silently into the air. Tomorrow night, Neria's voice echoed in Kara's mind. I will return with more information. Be ready. Kara watched as the teardrop-shaped craft disappeared into the clouds, leaving no trace it had ever been there. She stood in the field for a long moment, trying to process everything that had happened. Was she ready for this responsibility? Could anyone be? The morning birds began to sing as the sun rose fully above the horizon. Kara turned and walked back to her house. Her ordinary little house that now seemed so different. She had classes to teach today. Students who knew nothing of aliens or interstellar politics, or the fact that their science teacher had just become one of humanity's first ambassadors to the stars. She would keep their secret for now. But soon, very soon, everything would change, and Kara Stewart would help lead the way. The school day dragged on for Kara. Each minute felt like an hour as she tried to focus on teaching her students about photosynthesis. Her mind kept drifting to Neria, the golden-eyed alien who had chosen her as an ambassador to humanity. She caught herself staring out the window several times, looking for strange lights in the sky. Stewart, are you okay? One of her students asked. Billy was a bright kid, always noticing things others missed. Just tired, Kara said, forcing a smile. Too many papers to grade last night. When the final bell rang, Kara rushed home faster than usual. She lived alone, which now seemed like a blessing. No one to question where she was going or what she was doing. She paced around her living room, wondering if last night had been real. Maybe she had dreamed the whole thing. Maybe she was losing her mind. As the sun began to set, Kara went outside and sat on her back porch, staring at the empty field where Neria's ship had landed. The grass showed no signs of a visitor, nothing to prove what had happened. She waited as darkness fell, wondering if Neria would really return. The sky was clear tonight, stars twinkling above. No strange purple clouds, no shimmering teardrop spacecraft. Maybe it had been a dream after all. Kara sighed and stood up, ready to go back inside when she felt it. A gentle pressure in her mind, like someone knocking on a door. Look up, Neria's voice whispered in her thoughts. Kara tilted her head back and gasped. Above her, hovering silently, was a ship smaller than the one from last night. It was shaped like a perfect sphere, and seemed to bend the light around it, making it almost invisible against the night sky. A beam of soft blue light extended down, touching the ground in front of Kara. Step into the light and close your eyes, Neria instructed. I cannot land tonight. Too many watching eyes. Kara hesitated for only a moment before walking forward into the beam. As soon as it touched her, she felt weightless, her feet leaving the ground. She closed her eyes tightly, her heart racing as she felt herself rising upward. When the sensation stopped, she heard a soft hiss and felt solid ground beneath her feet again. You can open your eyes now. Neria's musical voice said aloud this time. Kara looked around, finding herself in a small, rounded chamber. Neria stood before her, wearing what looked like armor now instead of the flowing silver garment from the night before. The armor was black, with glowing blue lines tracing patterns across it. It looked both beautiful and functional. Welcome aboard the Star Shadow, Neria said. This is my personal scout ship, much smaller than my main vessel but more discreet. Where are we going? Kara asked. Looking for windows, but finding none, to meet the others. Neria replied. The ship is already moving. We will be there shortly. The others, Kara repeated. The other ambassadors. Neria nodded. 3 have been chosen so far beside yourself. You will be the first to meet. Each brings different strengths, different perspectives. All are needed. The wall beside them suddenly became transparent, revealing Earth below them. They were already in space, moving faster than Kara thought possible. The blue planet looked peaceful from this distance, showing no signs of the conflicts and problems that plagued it. "It is beautiful, isn't it?" Neria said softly. "My people have a saying. Worlds may differ, but beauty speaks in one language throughout the cosmos. How far up are we?" Kara asked, trying to process the fact that she was in space, actually. In space, looking down at her planet far enough to avoid detection. Neria explained. "Most of your satellites and tracking systems are quite primitive. They cannot detect our ships unless we wish to be seen. We use what you might call a phase shift technology existing slightly out of sync with your reality." The view changed as the ship accelerated, Earth becoming smaller behind them. The stars stretched into lines of light and then snapped back to normal. The wall showed a new view, a massive structure floating in space. It looked like a wheel with spokes connecting to a central hub. The entire thing must have been miles across. The Nexus. Neria said, "This is where representatives from allied worlds meet. It exists in neutral space beyond your solar system, yet it is only moments away with our drives." Kara pressed her hand against the transparent wall. "Is that where the other humans are?" Neria nodded. "They have been brought here just as you have been, each by one of my sisters, each chosen for specific qualities." The ship approached the massive wheel structure, slipping through an opening into a docking bay filled with vessels of various shapes and sizes. Kara noticed that most looked nothing like conventional human spacecraft. Some were crystalline, others seemed made of light itself. As the ship settled onto a landing platform, Neria turned to Kara. "You will meet beings from many worlds today. Some may seem strange, even frightening to you. But remember, they are people just as you are. They have families, cultures, hopes, and fears." "Do not judge by appearance," Kara nodded, trying to prepare herself. "I understand." A door appeared in the wall, sliding open to reveal a walkway leading to an elaborate structure that resembled a greenhouse with crystal walls and ceilings. Plants of all colors grew inside, some moving as if alive. "Follow me," Neria said. "The others are waiting." They walked along the path and entered the crystal structure. The air inside smelled sweet, like flowers and spices Kara had never encountered. Paths wound between pools of water and beds of strange plants. In the center of the garden was a circular area with comfortable-looking seats arranged around a table. 3 humans sat there, already deep in conversation with aliens who looked similar to Neria, though each had subtle differences. One had skin that shifted between blue and green. Another had 4 arms instead of 2. The third was smaller than Neria, with silver markings across her face. The humans were diverse as well. An older woman with dark skin and gray hair, a young man of Asian descent, and a middle-aged woman with auburn hair and freckles. They all looked up as Kara and Neria approached. "Sisters," Neria greeted the other aliens. "This is Kara Stewart, my chosen." The alien with shifting blue-green skin stood and approached. "This is Linda Wolf," she said, gesturing to the older woman. "She is a doctor who has treated the sick in many nations. She understands suffering and healing." The 4-armed alien nodded at the young Asian man beside her. "This is Peter Wu, a farmer who grows food for his community while studying the stars at night. He understands both earth and sky." The silver-faced alien gestured to the auburn-haired woman. "This is Grace Miller. She creates stories and art that touch human hearts. She understands emotion and inspiration." Neria placed a hand on Kara's shoulder. "And this is Kara Stewart. She teaches the young, shaping minds for the future. She understands learning and growth." The humans looked at Kara with expressions that mirrored her own, a mixture of awe, confusion, and determination. They had all been chosen just like her, pulled from ordinary lives into something extraordinary. "Welcome to the Nexus," the alien with shifting skin said. Her voice was similar to Neria's, but deeper, more resonant. "I am Talia, first speaker of our expedition. We have brought you here because time grows short." Talia continued. "The Vraxians move faster than we anticipated. Their scout ships have already entered your solar system. Though they remain beyond your planet's orbit, they are searching, mapping, planning. Linda. The doctor leaned forward. How long do we have? Perhaps one of your Earth years, Talia replied. Maybe less. And what exactly are we supposed to do? Peter asked. The young farmer looked overwhelmed, but his voice was steady. We are just 4 people against an alien invasion. Not just 4 people. Grace, the writer corrected, her green eyes intense. 4 ambassadors. 4 bridges between worlds exactly. Naria said 4 humans who will help prepare Earth for what is coming. Not just the danger, but the opportunity. Kara found her voice. What opportunity? The opportunity to join the greater community of worlds. Naria explained. The chance to advance your species beyond its current limitations, to take your place among the stars. But first you must survive the Vraxian threat. The 4-armed alien said. Her name was Mira, as Kara would soon learn, and to do that you need knowledge that we will give you. Talia added, but knowledge that must be shared carefully with your world leaders, your scientists, your thinkers. Your planet is divided. Your nations distrust each other. This complicates matters. And that is why we need ambassadors, Linda said, nodding slowly. People who can communicate across those divisions. People who understand humanity but are open to something greater. Exactly. Naria said, smiling at Kara. You see why you were chosen. The silver-faced alien whose name was Serene held up her hand. A holographic image appeared above the table showing Earth surrounded by small red dots. Moving closer. These are Vraxian scout ships, she explained. They are searching for weaknesses, studying your defenses, which are minimal at best. They will report back to their fleet. What do they want? Grace asked. They must have hundreds of worlds already. Why Earth resources? Yes, Mira said, but primarily they want you. Humans. Your adaptability, your creativity, your capacity to survive and thrive in adverse conditions. They would make you into their servants, their soldiers, their living tools. We cannot allow this to happen. Talia said firmly, which is why we have revealed ourselves to you now. After centuries of watching and waiting, we must prepare Earth to defend itself. How? Kara asked. How can we possibly defend against something like this? Naria touched the table and the hologram changed, showing designs for devices Kara did not recognize. Not with weapons. We cannot give you those. Our laws forbid direct intervention of that kind. But we can give you knowledge. Scientific advancements that would take you decades, perhaps centuries, to discover on your own. The morning after the meeting at the Nexus, Kara woke up in her own bed feeling as if she'd lived through a dream. But the small device on her nightstand proved it had all been real. The communicator Naria had given her looked like a simple stone, smooth and black with swirls of blue running through it. But when she touched it, images appeared in her mind. Knowledge flowed into her thoughts. Kara had spent hours after returning home absorbing information about the Alliance, about the Vraxians, about technologies that humanity had never imagined. She learned of energy systems that drew power from what humans called dark matter, of medical techniques that could cure diseases, Earth doctors considered fatal, of farming methods that could transform deserts into gardens. Now she had to decide what to do with this knowledge. Her first class that day was with the seniors, bright young people preparing for college and careers that might not matter if the Vraxians came. Kara looked at their faces as they filed into the classroom and felt the weight of her responsibility. Today we're going to do something different, she announced. We won't be following the textbook. Instead, I want to discuss the future. Your future. The students perked up, sensing something unusual in their teacher's tone. I want you to imagine humans living among the stars, she said, moving between worlds, working with beings unlike ourselves, creating a civilization that spans galaxies. What would that look like? What would we need to learn? What would we need to become? A girl named Molly raised her hand. We would need better rockets, right? And ways to travel faster than light. Good, Kara said, nodding. And why is that important? Because space is huge, another student replied. Like really, really huge. Even the closest stars would take years to reach with our current technology. Exactly. Kara said. And what else would we need? Air, food, water. a way to grow things in space. Mike suggested he was always practical. And how might we solve those problems? Kara pressed. The discussion flowered, students suggesting ideas, arguing points, building on each other's thoughts. Kara guided them subtly, introducing concepts that Naria had shared with her, not as alien knowledge but as theoretical possibilities. When the bell rang, the students left buzzing with excitement. That was cool. Miss Stewart, one boy said, as he headed out, we should do more classes like that. Kara smiled watching them go, planting seeds. She thought, that's how. It begins. After school, she drove to the nearby university where she had once been a student herself. She had a meeting with someone who might actually believe her. Dr. Ellis had been her mentor during college, a physicist with wild white hair and a reputation for unconventional theories about space and time. He greeted her warmly in his cluttered office. Kara, it's been too long. What brings you to my dusty corner of academia? Kara took a deep breath. I need to show you something, and I need you to keep an open mind. She placed Naria's communicator on his desk. The stone sat there innocuous until Dr. Ellis touched it curiously. His eyes widened as the knowledge flowed into his mind. He staggered backward, nearly falling into his chair. What in the name of Einstein? He whispered, staring at the device. What is this? The truth? She said simply. For the next hour, she explained everything. Her encounter with Naria, the Nexus, the other ambassadors, the Vraxian threat. Dr. Ellis listened without interrupting, which was unusual for him. His face cycled through disbelief, wonder, and finally determination. This changes everything, he said finally, every theory, every assumption about our place in the universe. I know, Kara said. But we need to be careful about how we share it. Who we tell. Ellis nodded absently, still processing. You need validators, people with credibility who can confirm the science, who can help develop these technologies without causing panic. Yes. Kara agreed. Do you know trustworthy people? In other fields, medicine, agriculture, communication. Ellis began scribbling names on a notepad, his hand shaking slightly with excitement. We need a network. A small group at first, people who can verify and build on this knowledge. Before we go public. As they talked, the sun set outside Ellis' office window. Somewhere up there, Kara knew Naria was watching, waiting to see what humanity would do with the gift and warning she'd given them. That night, Kara received a message through the communicator, coordinates, and a time. She drove to a remote overlook outside town, the kind of place teenagers went to park and look at the stars. There was only one other car there. A woman leaned against it, looking up at the night sky. Grace Miller. The writer Kara recognized. Her from the Nexus. They told me you'd be coming, Grace said, smiling. How are you holding up? Still processing, Kara admitted. How about you? Grace laughed softly. I create fictional worlds for a living and now am living in one. The irony isn't lost on me. What have you done so far? Kara asked. Grace gestured for Kara to follow her to the edge of the overlook where they could see the lights of the town below. I've started writing stories. Not about aliens directly, but about humanity facing challenges together, about breaking down the barriers between nations and people, planting ideas, seeds. Kara said, remembering her classroom. Exactly. Grace nodded. Same approach, different method. I also have connections in the entertainment industry, people who can help spread concepts without triggering immediate rejection. It's amazing how much people will accept in fiction that they would deny in fact. Have you heard from the others? Kara asked. Grace nodded. Peter is working with agricultural researchers, introducing concepts that will help feed people even if supply chains are disrupted. And Linda is quietly recruiting medical professionals, people who've seen enough of human suffering to be open to new approaches. A light flashed in the sky above them, not a star or plane, but a brief pulse that normal people might mistake for a satellite. They're watching us, Grace said. Her voice held wonder, not fear. Kara nodded. I know Naria checks in with me too. She says I'm doing well, but there's so much more to do. The two women stood, in silence for a moment, sharing the weight of their secret mission. We should coordinate, Grace said. Finally, compare notes, share contacts, build our network carefully. Kara agreed. The four ambassadors began meeting regularly, planning. Creating what? Dr. Ellis called the preparation protocol. A careful, methodical introduction of alien knowledge to key people in positions to use it without revealing its source. At least not yet. 3 months after her first encounter with Neria, Kara watched a news report about a breakthrough in renewable energy. A team led by one of Dr. Ellis' colleagues had developed a new type of solar panel that was 3 times more efficient than anything previously known. They're already using the knowledge, Kara thought. With satisfaction, other breakthroughs followed. A new method of water purification. A more efficient way to grow crops in harsh conditions. Medical treatments that seemed miraculous, but were explained away as lucky discoveries. The seeds were sprouting. Not everyone was pleased. Some corporations saw their business models threatened. Politicians worried about shifting power structures. Religious leaders questioned what these changes meant for their teachings. But the momentum was building a sense that humanity was on the verge of something important, something transformative. 6 months into their mission, the 4 ambassadors met at Peter's farm, a small organic operation that had become a testing ground for the new agricultural methods. The crops grew with impossible vigor in soil that should have been too poor to support them. We need to go public soon, Linda said. Her medical work had saved hundreds already, but she wanted to save millions. This slow approach is working, but the Vraxians won't. Give us years to prepare. Peter looked troubled, but if we reveal everything too quickly, people will panic. Governments will fight over the technology. Some will see it as a hoax, others as a threat. The world is already changing, Grace pointed out. People sense something is happening. They just don't know what. My sources in media say there's growing speculation about where these breakthroughs are coming from. Kara had been quiet, listening to the others. We need something undeniable, she said finally. Something that can't be explained away or covered up. That night when she returned home, Neria was waiting. The alien stood in Kara's living room, her opal skin glowing softly in the darkness. You have done well, Neria said. Your people have begun to use our knowledge faster than we expected. Humans truly are adaptable, but it's not enough, is it? Kara said. It's too slow. Neria nodded sadly. The Vraxian fleet has entered your solar system. They are still beyond Mars, but approaching their main force will arrive sooner than we calculated. How soon? Kara asked, feeling cold dread in her stomach. 6 Earth months. Perhaps less. What can we do? Neria touched the wall and it became transparent, showing not the outside of Kara's house, but a view of Earth from space. Except there was something surrounding the planet, a faint shimmer like heat waves on a summer road. The Alliance has provided this. Neria explained, a partial phase shield. It will hide some of your electromagnetic emissions, make Earth seem less developed than it is. Buy you time. But not indefinitely. It's not enough, Kara said, shaking her head. We need more. We need to reveal everything now. Neria looked at her with those golden eyes filled with something like pride. That is why I chose you. Kara Stewart, always pushing forward, even when afraid you are right. The time for secrecy is ending. She held out her hand and a small device appeared in her palm, unlike the communicator. This will allow your people to detect the Vraxian ships. This will provide proof that cannot be denied. Kara took the device. It was warm and vibrated slightly with energy. This will change everything. Susan Martinez stared at the 4 people sitting in her office, her dark eyes wide with disbelief that was rapidly turning to horrified understanding. The detection device Kara had given her sat on her desk, its display showing the Vraxian ships, positions in the solar system exactly where Susan's own instruments had detected anomalies. You're telling me that aliens are real, she said slowly, and that they're coming here. Not friendly ones either, and that you've been in contact with other aliens for months now, preparing us. That's the simple version, yes. Linda said the doctor had a calm way of speaking that put people at ease, even when discussing potential disaster. Susan ran a hand through her short black hair. I should think you're all crazy, but she gestured at the device. This matches my data perfectly, and it shows details my instruments couldn't possibly detect. We need your help, Peter said. The young farmer looked out of place in the NASA office but spoke with quiet confidence. You have connections. Government, military, scientific. We need to get this information to people who can act on it. Susan nodded slowly, thinking, I have a meeting with the director tomorrow. I can show him this. But even if he believes me, and that's a big, if getting world governments to cooperate will be difficult, Grace finished for her, but not impossible. Remember, humanity has faced global threats before climate change pandemics. We can come together when necessary, and this is very necessary. Kara added, the Vraxians won't negotiate. They won't be reasoned with. They see us as resources, not people. Susan looked at each of them in turn. You really believe we can do this? Prepare for an alien invasion in less than 6 months? We have to try, Linda said, simply. The meeting with the NASA director went better than expected. The detection device provided evidence that could not be dismissed. The director immediately contacted the National Security Council. Within days, the ambassadors found themselves in Washington, D.C., explaining everything to room after room of government officials, scientists, military leaders. Some were skeptical. Some were terrified. All were shaken to their core by the revelation that humanity was not alone, and that a threat was approaching that dwarfed anything in human experience. The president, a pragmatic woman with a background in engineering, listened to their presentation in the Oval Office. Her face remained composed, but her fingers tapped nervously on her desk as they spoke. Let me see if I understand, she said. When they finished, 4 aliens chose the 4 of you to prepare humanity for both contact with friendly species and defense against hostile ones. They've given you advanced knowledge which you've been slowly introducing through various channels. And now you're telling me we have less than 6 months before these Vraxians arrive. That is correct. Madam President Kara confirmed. We have detection technology, shield technology, and some defensive measures. But implementing them will require global cooperation, and proof, the president said. You say these friendly aliens the Alliance have been watching, but not interfering. Why should we believe they have our best interests at heart? Why should we trust them? The question hung in the air for a moment. Because they've had thousands of years to conquer us if they wanted to, Linda said finally. They could have taken Earth when we were still using spears and arrows. But they didn't. They watched. They waited. They helped when they could without interfering directly with our development. And now they offer alliance, not domination. Peter added, they respect our independence, our right to choose our own path. But we need to choose quickly. Grace said, the Vraxians won't wait while we debate. The president stood up and walked to the window looking out at the White House lawn. We need to bring the other world leaders into this. The UN Security Council at minimum. This isn't just an American problem within. A week, a special closed session of the UN Security Council was convened. The 4 ambassadors presented their evidence again. Linda speaking to the health implications, Peter to resource concerns, Grace to cultural impact, and Kara to the scientific and educational challenges. They showed the detection data, the shield technology, the communications they had received. Reactions were mixed. Chinese representatives demanded independent verification. Russian officials suggested it might be an elaborate American hoax. European delegates wanted to know why their scientists hadn't been consulted earlier. It was Susan Martinez who finally cut through the arguments. With all due respect, she said, rising to address the council. The objects we are tracking are real. Their movements defy the laws of physics as we understand them. They are approaching Earth. No country on this planet has technology that can explain what we're seeing. What these ambassadors are telling you matches our observations perfectly. We can debate all day about whether to trust their alien allies. But the threat they warn about is very real. Slowly, painfully, the nations of Earth began to cooperate. Defense systems were reconfigured to detect the approaching ships. Resources were allocated to implement the new technologies. Communications networks were hardened against potential interference. The shield technology was expanded, strengthened. But there was still the question of whether to tell the public. Some leaders argued for secrecy, fearing panic. Others insisted on transparency, believing people deserved to know. The debate raged for weeks, while preparations continued behind the scenes. It was Grace who developed the solution. A carefully crafted announcement, a revelation that would be shocking, but not terrifying. A message of hope mixed with warning. She worked with psychologists, sociologists, religious leaders to find the right words, the right approach. 90 days after the meeting with Susan Martinez, the President of the United States stood before cameras in the White House press room alongside other world leaders. They would make the announcement together, showing unity in the face of the unknown citizens of Earth. The President began. Today we share news that will forever change our understanding of our place in the universe. We are not alone. The broadcast continued with carefully prepared videos, scientific explanations, historical context. The existence of the Alliance was revealed. The approaching Vraxian fleet was mentioned not as an invincible enemy, but as a challenge humanity would face together. The 4 ambassadors were introduced, explaining their roles, their missions. Across the planet, people watched in shock, awe, disbelief. Religions grappled with the implications of alien life. Militaries accelerated their cooperation. Scientists pored over the new technologies that were now being openly shared. There was fear. Yes, but also something else. Determination, pride even, a sense that humanity faced its greatest test but would rise to meet it. 2 days after the announcement, Kara stood in her backyard looking up at the night sky. The stars seemed different now, knowing what was out there, both wonder and danger. A soft hum announced Nereus' arrival. Her ship settling invisibly in the field. "You have done well," Nereus said, approaching Kara. Her opal skin glowed in the moonlight. "Your people move with remarkable speed when properly motivated." "There are still problems," Kara said. "Some refuse to believe, some think it's all a hoax. Others are using it to spread fear, religious extremism." Even with all the evidence, Nerea made the chiming sound that was her laugh. "No species responds with complete unity. Kara, not even mine, but the majority of your people are preparing, accepting, adapting. That is what matters. And the Vraxians?" Kara asked. "Have they noticed our preparations? They have slowed their approach." Nerea confirmed. "They expected to find a vulnerable world, unprepared for their coming. They are reassessing, but they will still come. They have committed too many resources to turn back now." Kara nodded, watching as clouds drifted across the moon. "Would the Alliance help us fight if it comes to that?" Nerea was silent for a long moment. "We cannot fight your battles directly, that is forbidden. But the knowledge we have shared, the technologies, if used properly, they will allow you to defend yourselves." And she hesitated. "We have other ways of helping. Ways that do not violate our principles." "What ways?" Kara pressed. Nerea looked up at the stars. "The galaxy is vast, with many species, many interests. The Vraxians have enemies besides us, enemies who might be persuaded to distract them, divide their forces," and she turned to Kara with those golden eyes. "Perhaps most importantly, you have us. The Alliance standing beside you. Not as saviors, but as friends. Not fighting for you, but with you. There is a difference." Kara thought about this. The distinction seemed meaningful to Nerea, an important principle. The Alliance would help, but humanity must save itself. A month later, the first Vraxian scout ship was detected entering Earth orbit, a sleek black vessel that absorbed light rather than reflecting it. Military satellites tracked it. Nations held their breath fingers hovering over newly designed defense systems, but the ambassador network had prepared for this moment. Grace had created a communication protocol. Linda had medical teams ready in case of biological attack. Peter had secured food and water supplies for major population centers. And Kara had worked with education systems worldwide to prepare people, especially the young, for a new reality. The Vraxian ship circled Earth once, twice, 3 times, scanning, testing the partial phase. shield that now surrounded the planet. Then, without warning, it fired an energy pulse at a military installation in the desert, the shield held absorbing the blast. The installation remained untouched. Humanity held its breath. Then from every major city on Earth, a signal was sent. A message crafted by the best minds, human and alien alike, translated into what the Alliance believed was Vraxian language. The Planetary Defense Center hummed with activity as screens showed the approaching Vraxian fleet. Military personnel from 24 nations worked side by side, monitoring systems that had not existed 6 months ago. Scientists analyzed data from the new sensor arrays. Politicians and diplomats stood in the background watching. As humanity's fate hung in the balance, General Laura Chen, commander of the Joint Defense Force, stood at the central console, her face illuminated by the blue glow of holographic displays. "The Vraxian ships have entered the asteroid belt," she reported. "They are moving slowly, testing for traps or defenses. How much time do we have?" Susan Martinez asked from her station, where she coordinated with orbital platforms at their current speed. General Chen replied, 3 days before they reach Earth orbit. Perhaps 4. They are being cautious, as they should be, Peter said. The young farmer looked different now, more confident. His knowledge of resource management had made him a key advisor in planetary preparations. "We have surprises waiting for them." The biggest surprise remained hidden even from most human leaders. Only the 4 ambassadors and a handful of top officials knew the full extent of the Alliance's assistance. The shield technology was more advanced than publicly acknowledged, the weapons more powerful, the communications more secure, all carefully designed to give humanity a fighting chance without making them dependent on alien saviors. The 4 ambassadors gathered in a private conference room adjacent to the main command center, their alien partners joining via secure holographic link. "They will offer terms. First," Talia said, her blue-green skin shifting as she spoke, "the Vraxians always do. They will demand surrender resources slaves. They will promise to spare major population centers in exchange for compliance. We won't give them anything," Linda said firmly. "Of course not, Mira." The 4-armed alien agreed, "But their offer will tell you much about their true intentions, their assessment of your strength, their plans. So we listen," Grace said, and then we show them humanity's answer," Seren replied, her silver markings glinting in the holographic light. 3 days passed as the Vraxian fleet approached methodically. Military forces worldwide remained on highest alert. Civilian populations watched the skies with a mixture of fear and determination. Schools remained open. Kara had insisted that maintaining normalcy was important, especially for children, but evacuation plans were ready if needed. On the morning of the 4th day, the Vraxian fleet entered Earth orbit. Their ships, massive and dark against the blue of the planet, positioned themselves in a formation that covered every major continent. The communication came as predicted, a signal breaking through all channels worldwide. A face appeared on screens. The Vraxian commander was vaguely reptilian with iridescent scales and eyes like black mirrors. "People of Earth." The translation began, "We are the Vraxian Imperium, masters of 1,000 worlds. We have come to claim this planet and its resources. Surrender and your major cities will be spared. Resist, and you will be destroyed. You have 1 planetary rotation to decide." The signal cut off, leaving billions of humans looking to their leaders for a response. In the Defense Center, the ambassadors gathered with world leaders to craft that response. Linda brought medical analysis of the Vraxian physiology gleaned from the brief transmission. Peter contributed resource assessments based on the size and likely needs of their fleet. Grace offered cultural insights from her study of their language and presentation, and Kara pulled it all together into a strategic approach. "No, they expect us to either surrender immediately or attempt some desperate last stand," General Chen said, looking at the assembled leaders. "But we have a third option." The plan was audacious. Using the shield technology to its full capacity, not just as defense but as a weapon. Turning the Vraxians' own scanning technology against them, making Earth appear both more vulnerable and more dangerous than it actually was. When the deadline approached, the response was ready. broadcast from the defense center to the Vraxian fleet. A message not of fear or defiance but of calm certainty. Vraxian Imperium. The Earth President began. This is the unified response of humanity. We acknowledge your presence, we recognize your strength, but we decline your offer. The message continued, laying out terms that would have been unthinkable months ago. A proposal for limited resource sharing, designated areas where Vraxian ships could orbit but not land, a warning about the defensive capabilities now surrounding the planet. Most importantly, an introduction to Earth's allies. We stand with the Galactic Alliance. The President concluded, "We are prepared for peace or war. The choice is yours." For 6 hours, there was no response. The Vraxian ships remained motionless, in orbit, scanning, assessing. Then small craft began to deploy from the larger vessels. They're sending landing parties. General Chen reported dozens of them, targeting major cities. This was expected. Kara said the ambassadors had prepared for this phase. Warnings had been distributed, defensive positions established. The Vraxians would test Earth's resolve. The first landing craft descended toward Washington, D.C., moving faster than any human aircraft could intercept, but the shield was waiting. As the Vraxian ship passed through the upper atmosphere, the shield activated not to stop it, but to slow it, disrupt its systems. The ship struggled visibly before righting itself and continuing its descent. When it was 5,000 feet above the city, the true defense activated a focused energy pulse from a hidden platform. The Vraxian ship shuddered, then veered off course, crashing into the Potomac River. The crew survived, stunned but alive. Similar scenes played out across the planet Vraxian. Landing craft disabled but not destroyed. Their crews captured but treated according to protocols Linda had established. This was crucial. Not a massacre, but a demonstration. A show of both strength and restraint. The main Vraxian fleet responded with orbital bombardment energy weapons firing from space, but the enhanced shield held absorbing, dissipating the attacks. Ground-based defense systems returned fire, not targeting the ship's engines or weapons, but their sensors' communications. Their ability to coordinate. For 3 days the battle continued, the Vraxians testing humanity, responding. Neither side able to gain a decisive advantage, but it was Earth that had the surprise in reserve. On the 4th day of combat, Kara stood with Naria in the defense center watching the tactical displays. "The Alliance vessels have arrived," Naria said quietly. No one else could see them yet. The Alliance ships existed partially out of phase, their advanced technology making them invisible to both human and Vraxian sensors. But they were there, dozens of them surrounding the Vraxian fleet, not to fight but to reveal themselves at the critical moment. Kara gave the signal. The final phase of the plan. Across Earth, defensive systems switched targets. No longer aiming at Vraxian sensors or weapons, but at their engines, specifically their faster-than-light drives. A vulnerability the Alliance had identified. The coordinated attack was precise, disabling the Vraxian ability to retreat quickly without destroying their ships. At that moment, the Alliance vessels shifted fully into phase, becoming visible to all, a display of force that could not be misinterpreted. The message was clear. The Vraxians were surrounded. For 24 hours, the Vraxian fleet remained silent. Then a new transmission. Different Vraxian face, older, more scarred. "We recognize the Planetary Alliance." A new translation began. "We did not know Earth was under their protection. We will withdraw." "Not so simple," Linda said from her position nearby. "They need to understand this wasn't just the Alliance. Earth defended itself." As if hearing her, the President stepped forward to respond. "Earth is not under Alliance protection," she stated clearly. "Earth is an Alliance member. We defended ourselves with our own technology, our own people. We chose to disable rather than destroy your vessels. We chose to capture rather than kill your soldiers. That was our decision." The Vraxian commander was silent for a long moment, something like confusion in those black mirror eyes. Then respect. "The Imperium acknowledges Earth as an independent power," he said. The voice in the translation sounded strained, as if the concept was difficult to express. We will withdraw. You may keep our damaged vessels and captured personnel as prizes. We request safe passage for our remaining fleet. Terms were negotiated. Reparations for damage caused, guarantees against future aggression. Exchange of certain non-military technologies. The Vraxian Imperium had never before treated a newly discovered world as an equal, but they had never before encountered a world like Earth. As the Vraxian fleet departed minus their damaged ships and captured crews, Kara stood with the other ambassadors watching from the observation deck of the defense center. We did it, Grace said softly. We actually did it. Not just us. Linda corrected, the entire planet working together. That was the real victory. Peter nodded. Humans have always been stronger, united than divided. It just took an outside threat to remind us of that. Kara watched as the last Vraxian ship disappeared from view. What happens now? She asked. Now the real work begins, a musical voice said behind them. Naria and her sisters had appeared on the observation deck, their forms shimmering, slightly as if not quite solid. The Alliance delegation had come to speak directly with Earth leaders for the first time. Your world has proven itself, Naria said, approaching Kara. You faced the Vraxian threat not as victims to be saved, but as warriors, to be respected. You used the knowledge we shared wisely with restraint and purpose. You are ready for what comes next. And what is that? Linda asked.